Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 183, our weekly get together. We talk about recent gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brand, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, we have to talk about this whole HitRecord Watchdog controversy that's floating about. People seem salty about things on it. We have to ask what the responsibility is of parents on microtransactions these days. And we're going to get into how GameStop plans to restructure itself in the digital age. And it
Good luck.
sounds interesting, I would say.
All right, we'll go with that.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, no, we'll get there. We don't need to start bashing on them already. It's fine.
Yeah.
We got lots of time.
Let's save show for show when we get to it. I was about to immediately go into that, but I don't want to do that.
Yeah, let's start railing GameStop like the world has.
I do want to talk about real quick that I played Soul Seraph over the weekend or so.
Oh, dude, that's that 2D Dark Cloud game.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Last I heard, Dark Cloud was better than it.
Yeah, Soul Seraph, unfortunately, is not what I was hoping for. It wasn't the ActRaiser spiritual successor that I am craving. They took a...
Which is a bummer, because didn't Sega actually put it out?
Yes, Sega published it. Ace Team developed it. These are the guys that made Rock of Ages, and Rock of Ages is an amazing game, by the way. I would recommend playing Rock of Ages. But Soul Seraph, I should have seen the red flag coming when they announced it literally like a week and a half before it goes for sale.
Sometimes cool things happen like that.
Sometimes, but usually not. What we got instead was a meh platformer with a meh tower defense. It did, however, remind me of how awesome ActRaiser was, and I played through that over the weekend on stream, and that was real nice.
There you go.
I actually beat it in one sitting. I forgot how quick. That game is very, very quick when you know what you're doing.
Damn.
Which is, it took me like 3.5 hours. But I remember when I first played it back when I was like 10 or 11 or something. I want to say the game came out in like in 91. That game took me days and days and days to figure out because it's so obtuse for the time. Because it was so unique. It didn't fall into really any other category that was out there.
All right, that's fair.
Turns out ActRaiser, still amazing. David?
That's cool. That's better than the shit I spent a lot of time trying to beat when I was a kid, like SOS and fucking Lawnmower Man. So
God, Lawnmower Man sucked. SOS was amazing, however. I loved SOS. For those who don't know, SOS was
if you go clearly off playtime, for me, Lawnmower Man was obviously my favorite because I had so many more hours trying to beat fucking Job and then realizing that the fucking game went through the second movie.
Yeah.
Damn.
Which is the game went through the second movie before the second movie was actually like released, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
So shit doesn't really work out right.
Yeah, that game didn't make any fucking sense. And you fight a scientist with a backpack and it turns into a fucking bullet hell. Anyway, that's a fucking nightmare block that I just opened up. So thanks for that.
And SOS, for those who don't know, it's essentially the Poseidon Adventure, the video game. It was a really cool. You're on a cruise ship in like the early turn of the century. It's like 1912, and a giant wave causes it to flip over, and you have to get out. And it was really, really fucking cool.
Yeah, that game was super interesting to me as a kid because I remember trying and like memorizing like where you go on the ship, and it's important which character you pick because, you know, if you pick one of the ritzy upper class people and the boat flips over, all of a sudden you're on the bottom, so it's a lot further for you to go. But if you're the mechanic who starts in the engine room, then you're closer to get to the maintenance shaft so you can get out the side of the boat. But going through and learning all this stuff, and then you could try and find survivors, and most of the time they'd follow their death. And then I remember the first time I finally beat that game, and I was so excited because that game was so fucking hard when I was a kid. And I didn't have guys. I didn't have internet. I didn't have GameStop. I didn't have anything.
Were you alone?
Hell yeah, I was. That's exactly what happened. I got to the end of the boat. I finally got the hell out of there. My character's like, all right, we made it. And the guys are like, what the fuck? You didn't bring anybody with you?
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? There's survivors in there. We got to go back down. Come on, we're going back. And then you get a fucking epilogue that says your character goes back in for survivors, and the boat sinks, and everybody dies.
The
tragedy, man.
The worst part of that game, however, is the last 5 minutes where you're going through the boiler room. Because the AI can't jump for shit, and they just literally commit suicide nonstop. It is really hard to get out.
And at that point, the boat is rotating like crazy. Anyway, we're talking about a fucking 30-year-old side-scrolling boat simulation game, so I guess we should move on.
Then let's go ahead and do so. Let's go ahead and get into the first topic of the night. I just want to touch on this real quick because it's kind of old news. It's one of those stories that was really big but broke early last week.
Yeah, it's so big that you probably already know about it, but if somehow you don't, we'll be happy to tell you that there's a new Switch.
Right, the Switch Lite. Missed out on calling it the light switch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It has finally been revealed. Of course, we all kind of knew this was coming. There have been rumors about it for a long time. And when was there ever a console Nintendo made that they didn't make another version of, say, for like, when it comes to handheld stuff, right? Now, consoles, I shouldn't say consoles, I should say handheld, even though Switch is a weird hybrid. Nintendo loves their light versions or their improved colors or insert whatever here of the
2DS.
same console. Yeah, 2DS, 3DS, 3DS Plus, or whatever it's called. So the Switch Lite this time around is going to be $200 compared to $300, which damn near makes it almost a must-buy.
If you do not have a Switch, yes.
$200 is, yeah, if you don't have a Switch already. $200 is a really fucking good price for the Switch. It's handheld only.
That's less than I paid for my 3DS back in the day.
Yeah, same here. It's handheld only, and the controllers are going to be permanently attached to the sides, and it won't come with HD rumble or a motion camera. It doesn't hook to the dock either, so you're going to have to buy like an AC. It's going to have to either buy an AC adapter or come
just
with an AC
handheld.
adapter.
Just a little bit. Well, it's a bit smaller than a Switch. It's actually, funnily enough, just a tad bit bigger than a PlayStation Vita.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if you have a Vita, it's basically a squared off Vita because the Joy-Con shape makes it more of a rectangle, where the Vita, is very round on the edges.
Yeah.
So if you just filled in that space to a rectangle, that's the Switch Lite. It's really close.
It's roughly half an inch less tall. It's a half an inch lower, and it's an inch more compressed. It's an inch less wide. It's long. It stays the same thickness.
Yep.
And the screen is bigger by smaller. I'm sorry.
Smaller.
The screen is smaller. It's 5.5 inches versus 6.2, and you get a slightly little bit battery charge out of there, probably because it doesn't have to worry about charging up controllers or anything like that.
Yeah, or there's just been some optimizations to the battery.
Right.
Part of the release is there's also some rumors that Nintendo had applied for a change in the CPU configuration of the existing Switch model without actually changing the SKU on it, which would most likely increase the power efficiency of the regular Switch, probably to what this one is, just because of, technology does shit.
Yeah, it really, and when I say it's a small change, it is a very small change, by the way. We're talking like an extra 30 minutes maybe of battery power. Maybe.
Yeah.
One thing to note about this new light switch, though, or Switch Lite rather, when it's coming out, is that if your game requires Joy-Cons, you're not fucked, but you are going to have to buy extra Joy-Cons. Like the detachment requires some of the motion things, like the thing that comes to mind is Labo, for example.
Yeah, but if you're getting a Switch Lite, what do you need Labo for?
Because you want to do the VR stuff. Or
if you're buying the handhold only one, why do you need to do the VR stuff?
I'm just throwing that out there, man. It's not 100% compatible with everything out there. It's going to be compatible with the vast majority of Switch titles.
Yep. Anything that's handheld, anything that supports handheld mode will work.
Which is the vast majority of them.
Yep.
I'm just throwing this out here as a warning. If you guys are going to buy this, just be aware there are some things you are not going to be able to play. And if it's only Joy-Con related, you can always buy the Joy-Con separately and pair them up with your Switch, and it'll work that way. But that also means you need to find a way to charge for Joy-Cons, so you have to buy yet another accessory to charge for Joy-Cons.
More importantly, it's still going to work with all the 2D side-scrolling Metroidvanias, so you'll still have access to all the best Switch stuff anyway.
Right. So, just a heads up. Anyways, that's out there. It is big, but I want to say that was like Tuesday or Wednesday when that dropped, and it's one of those just here's information dumps.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just want to get out of the way real quick. Let everyone know, yes, we know of it. Now we get into the meat of the show.
This is a really cool thing. What's really funny to me is I saw a lot of people complaining online, like, why the fuck would I buy this? I have a Switch. It's not for you, bro.
Yeah.
If you already have a Switch, you're specifically not who they're trying to sell this to.
Exactly. It's like when to bring it up again. It's like when Labo came out.
This is for families that maybe they have one Switch in the living room that all their kids fight over, and all of a sudden it's $100 cheaper, so maybe they can buy a second Switch for one of the other kids.
Right.
Or for people that don't have any Switches at all, it's $100 cheaper, and that actually goes a long, long way.
Yeah. That's a real nice dinner out.
Yep. Or, dinner out.
Yeah, or a week's worth of groceries, depending on on who you're talking to. But yeah, it's just like the Labo conversation. It's like, guys, it's all right if Nintendo makes something that ain't for you guys. Not everything has to be 100% catered to you. Labo, it sure as hell ain't for me.
That's
but
true.
I don't begrudge Nintendo making it.
Anyway, I think it's cool. most importantly, though, for me, is there's the color, like there's the three different colors, I think, where there's like the yellow one, the gray one, the blue one, which look pretty cool. But did you see that special edition Pokemon Sword and Shield one? That
No.
the color scheme looks like an old school Game Boy. It's like that light gray color.
With like the red buttons and shit?
Well, the problem is that the buttons and the D-pad are either red or blue, I think, on the other side of the controller. So they like match the Pokemon game.
Mm-hmm.
But if they made one of these that was in that color scheme but had the old school like Famicom green, yellow, red, blue buttons on it, I would be so stoked.
So it's just to be clear, it's not meant to be colored like the old Game Boy. It just kind of looks like one.
Yeah, the shell of it is that kind of old school Nintendo gray.
Okay.
And I immediately was like, oh my god, that's so close to perfect for me because it looks rad.
Right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
David?
Not intentional, just an observation.
Let's get into the news of the week.
Let's talk about it.
First up on the docket is this whole HitRecord Watchdogs controversy. And this article is via IGN. Links, of course, will be provided in the description down below. Now, for those of you who don't know, HitRecord is Joseph Gordon-Levitt's company where he... Do you know what it is before I get into it?
I know exactly what it is.
Why don't you explain it? Because I think you might be able to do a better job explaining it than I can.
Okay, so Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a pretty cool guy. And a while ago, like actually quite a while ago, before you probably think, he put together this online community called HitRecord. And then for a little while, they had a TV show called HitRecord TV. But basically what it is it's a large community of artistic collaborators. So what they do is they'll put together a project. Like, okay, we need to make a new music track. We want to make a new art piece. We want to make a new video or TV show or animation or whatever it is. And everybody in the community kind of works collaboratively to build something. So say they're trying to make a song and they have a drummer that puts together a drum track. And then a guitarist, throws guitar over that drum track. And then you've got a keyboardist who, throws keys up and a vocalist. And then someone else comes along and remixes the whole thing. And someone else comes on and remasters the whole thing until they get to a point where they actually like it and they release it. And then HitRecord, based on things that are released, will actually pay the contributors based on the percentage of their work that was used in the final product. And it's just kind of become this big thing. And I know I'm just going to start calling him Joe because I don't want to say his whole damn name every time. But Joe really seems to love it. And he talks about it all the time. He's very excited about it. If you follow him on social media and stuff, he's really into it. And a lot of people seem to really respond to it because it's kind of a cool collaborative community thing, which seems really rad and pretty innocent on paper. And then you add Ubisoft. So a while ago, we heard about, I think it was during the Beyond Good and Evil 2 presentation, the initial one.
Right, which brings me up to the article right here. Let me go ahead and continue on from here.
All right.
This is via the IGN article. Ubisoft has once again partnered with actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt's production company HitRecord to produce in-game materials, all made with the HitRecord community members, this time for Watch Dogs Legion. Previously, they did do it on Beyond Good and Evil 2, which we remember. That's the first time I remember hearing about HitRecord.
Yeah, because he actually came out on stage and announced it.
Yeah.
This was a little different. This was just like a dev video, and then he was in the dev video. So it wasn't like the same level of reveal. But yeah, we know what's going on.
The renewed partnership has again raised the ire of game developers and others on social media who criticize the process as potentially exploitative speculative work. Now, what spec work is where you create something original, audition it off, and if a company likes it, you get paid for it. Otherwise, if they don't pick your stuff, you don't get paid for it. Specifically, Ubisoft and HitRecord have organized to commission 10 new songs for Watch Dogs Legion, much like how they did with, I think it was art assets in Beyond Good and Evil 2.
I think it was art and music in BGE.
It could have been both.
Yeah.
In a video posted to HitRecord's YouTube channel, Watch Dogs Legion creative director Clinton Hawking, audio director Richie Nito, and HitRecord founder and director Gordon Levitt described the partnership as an opportunity to reflect on the game's emphasis and collaboration between characters throughout the open world's music. Mm-hmm. HitRecord essentially operates by creating a project page. In this case, one has been made for Watch Dogs Legion, and then members of HitRecord's community, anyone who knows of the internet HitRecord, are able to...
Anybody can sign up. Yeah. We can all go sign up right now.
Are able to sign up and contribute to the project. HitRecord then selects the work it wants to use from this pool of contributors and pays them according to how much work they put in, which is what you were saying. Mm-hmm. So this has caused a problem because of this part right here. Each of the songs that HitRecord commissions and sends to Ubisoft will receive a $2,000 payment split between each contributing artist, following the terms that you were mentioning earlier there, David, about how you get paid according to how much you contribute.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone whose work was not chosen will receive no payment. Developers, a few indie devs on Twitter did not care too much for this and started kind of taking Ubisoft to task over this. Mike Bithell, the guy who made Thomas Was Alone and the upcoming John Wick Hex, said, "This sucks, pay people for labor." Scott Benson, aka Bombs Fall on Twitter, the guy who made Night in the Woods, said, shows a complete lack of surprise about this move from Ubisoft and is against it. Rami Ismail from Vlam Beer says, quote, "I am not a fan of what read as spec work under proprietary open non-exclusive license," end quote, model, and prefer the pay someone to browse SoundCloud to find cool music for which you then talk to me, the creator, and pay them too, end quote. Loses a little bit of the snaz when I'm reading out loud as opposed to someone reading it on Twitter.
Yeah.
But essentially they're all saying that this is Ubisoft.
This is fucked up.
They're saying it's fucked up. What do you think, Dave? Because I have opinions on this, but I want to know what you say before I come out with both guns.
The trouble for me is I'm pretty sure I'm going to have the exact same opinion I did when we had the whole Beyond Good and Evil conversation. And I have trouble putting myself in the shoes of like a creative person because I'm not a creative person, even a fucking little bit. I can't even hum something original. So the idea of contributing to something like this that ends up in a video game, to me as a layman with no fucking talent, sounds really cool. Like, oh man, I could do like a little bit of work or try something out and actually get into a video game. That sounds rad. What they're saying is that by having this out there in the first place, they're kind of exploiting game fans to do the work for free, and they should just pay somebody. But it's not like they're doing the entire game with this stuff. They want 10 songs. 10 songs that will be mixed into the radio stations that are played in vehicles or on stereos in game of the new Watch Dogs. Obviously, they're still going to pay like regular music people to put together the orchestral score and all the other dramatic music, and probably pay for a bunch of license tracks as well that are going to be in the game. So it's like kind of a small chunk of the game. And I just don't know if they went out of their way and paid a regular artist for this stuff, how much would it cost them for those 10 songs? And if it's significantly higher, then I guess there's an argument to be made there.
Let me pause here quick. It almost sounds like what people, from what I'm seeing, is that people aren't upset that 10 people are going to get chosen to get paid. It sounds like the people are upset that hundreds of people are going to apply for this doing work, and they won't be paid for that work. That it seems to be the crux of the argument.
But
here.
see, the whole thing is that I get it if they just said, okay, we have a fan contest, right? Everybody submit your original work, right, in its entirety, and we will choose. And they have hundreds of thousands of people submit, and they pick 10 songs from those hundreds of thousands of people. That I could see being more frustrating because those people would do a shit ton of work to put that whole song together. But the whole hit recordiness of it all is what kind of throws a hamper in that from my perspective, because they don't have anybody put together the entire track. That's not how this works. You could be the guy that plays one saxophone solo and sends it in for shits and giggles, and guess what? It gets on the thing and you get $50 for it because you played a sax solo, because why not?
What is the difference between
I don't know. This just the fact that it's a collaboration to me makes it hit less hard.
What's the difference between what this is and a fan contest, though, where essentially people are sending in work and X number of lucky winners are going to get paid for their work?
I don't know. I feel like it's easy to hate Ubisoft and be against them, but I have trouble hating Joe Gordon-Levitt.
Fair enough.
If that makes any sense, because he's had this community for years now. And the people in the community, at least the people that I've read that have followed up, or the people that were talking about Beyond Good and Evil 2, because some of them have already been paid for their work, say, oh, it's casual. I did it in my spare time. Took me, not that long at all. I just, did it for fun, throw it in, didn't even worry about it, didn't even think about it. And then I made $500, or I made $200, or I made whatever they make. And so it's less of I'm spending all my time and labor slaving away at this track that isn't going to get picked, and it's, hey, I hit the drums for a couple of minutes and I sent it in because it seemed like fun.
Okay.
But again, I don't know how much fucking work it is to just, hit the drums for a couple of minutes.
So
I have no idea.
My
It's so
stance on
frustrating.
this, as someone who is like has their toe in the creative side of things, I mean, I produce this show, I Twitch stream, that stuff is work. I put up YouTube videos, not many, but I do. That stuff is work. My stance on this whole not controversy, and I think that immediately gives you an idea of where I lean on it,
I mean, that's how you lean on everything.
is
so
that no one's holding a gun to your head forcing you to do this. If you don't want to participate, don't fucking participate.
Yep, and I've seen a lot of that argument, and the most often seen counter to that is it doesn't matter if you want to participate or not. They're exploiting fans. Because, yes, if you're logical enough to not want to participate and you don't do it, then that's all fine and good. But there's going to be enough people that just get all excited about it and then do all this work, and it hurts the creative industry process as a whole, is what the argument is.
Do you know? You said you're outside of the creative still. Do you know what a portfolio of your work is? When I say that specifically in the creative sense, if I say I have a portfolio of work, do you know?
Yeah,
what that
dude,
is?
you best not be talking about exposure because that shit doesn't pay the bills.
I'm not talking about exposure. I'm talking though.
No,
that
I
brings
know-
up a good point.
I know what a portfolio is, and a portfolio is usually a listing of or examples of all the shit that you've done creatively in your specific field. So it could be, here's a bunch of photos I've taken as I'm a photographer. Like here's a bunch of weddings that I've shot because I'm a wedding photographer. Here's a bunch of my paintings that have been featured in art galas because I'm trying to be an artist.
No creative person starts off with a portfolio of paid work. It's always unpaid out the gate because no one's going to hire you without anything to show for it, which means, guess what? You're doing your own blogs. You're writing articles for free for some place. You're doing shows on Twitch for free.
If you submit a song or like a bass line to hit record for the Watchdogs Legion and your bass line gets picked, can you then put that on a resume and apply to games?
Absolutely. It's a portfolio. It is an example of your work.
That sounds suspiciously like exposure. My work is out there and people are aware of it. You should give me money because of the things I did.
So here's the thing about exposure that a company promises, an exposure for yourself. Working for someone else for exposure is crap because it actually doesn't give you exposure. It gives that company exposure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Working for yourself for exposure is the only way you're going to get hired because you need a set portfolio. You can't just walk into I don't know, what's a record label?
Dude, I don't fucking know. When's the last time there was a record label that anyone...
You can't just walk into Atlantic Records. I don't even know if they're going to go, hey, we're a band, hire us. They're going to go, okay, what's your work? Well, we don't have any CDs. We don't have anything made. Okay, you're going to have to make that shit on your own. You're not going to get paid for it either. Do you see what I'm saying? It's
yeah.
There is something, it's this weird sense of, I don't want to call it entitlement, but it's like, guys, unpaid work is going to happen at some level. That it's just going to. You have to have somewhere you have to start. And that means either starting up your own YouTube channel, which unless you have 10,000 subscribers, you ain't getting paid for. It means starting up your own Twitch channel, which unless you have certain minimum levels, you ain't getting paid for. It means
I can vouch for that shit.
It means creating your own blog, which means you ain't getting paid for it. Unless you somehow immediately get 10,000 eyeballs a minute on there. Do you see what I'm saying?
So your argument is actually directly counter their argument that by giving these tracks to people outside of the traditional creative team in the video game industry, so not giving this to someone who normally works and does music already, instead of saying that they're denying existing artists' work, you are saying that the people that are against it are denying potential artists' work by not allowing their work to even come into the light.
Absolutely, because you mentioned it earlier. If your track gets picked, guess what you can slap on your resume? Hey, I contributed to songs on Watchdogs Legion. Or worst case scenario, you make a track, they don't pick it. Well, guess what? You have fucking expanded your portfolio. And you can take that song you made for Watchdogs 2 and pitch it to other people.
See, now I'm curious, with all of the leftovers, I'll have to look into this because Beyond Good and Evil, I think, has a lot of the music already done on HitRecord. I know at least some of it is. And I'm curious if you go in, if they have a listing of tracks that were submitted but didn't make it, and if those still have like the ability to go anywhere or to live out in the world.
Like if by submitting to this contest, Ubisoft gets to claim the rights to that track, regardless if they
Yeah,
use it or
like
not.
does Ubisoft just get to own everything, or does it just stay on
I
HitRecord, and
don't
then potentially
know.
some other company down the line can be like, "Hey, we're working on a cyberpunk adjacent game, right? And some of this music might actually fit in, and all of a sudden they can say, "Hey, can we get this?"
I don't know if that's the case or not, but I will say that considering the background of some of these indie developers, and it kind of brings me up the next point I want to make. A lot of these indie developers tend to be the same indie developers that are always trying to start these controversies where sometimes they exist, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they make good points, like the G2A thing. But in this case, it really feels like they're reaching for straws, and I think it's because they all tend to have like a same political ideology leaning, and they're trying to push kind of an agenda on anything they can. So they reach for whatever topic they can get, try to hammer that out. But that's my personal, it's just an observation. But if that was what was happening, they would be mentioning it because that would be extra fuel to the fire. The fact that they're not saying that makes me think that's not the case. But if that's the case, that's a completely different subject. But I don't think I even. But let's say Ubisoft still keeps the rights to it. That doesn't mean you can't add it to your portfolio. You just can't make money on it, which is fucked up. But that's an aside conversation. We don't know if that's actually what's going on here or not.
Yep. I don't know. It's really complicated.
Ultimately, I think that this is a non-controversy. I think it is people trying to make hay out of something that's not really there in an attempt to further that their ideology a little bit farther because it's a multi-front battle.
Well, because here's the thing: it's going to happen, and people are going to contribute to it, and the people that are contribute to it are not mad about it; they're excited.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to say this is wrong when there's still a bunch of people that are like, "Fuck yeah, this is awesome."
My ultimate stance is they aren't putting a gun to your head. If you don't like it, don't participate in it. Mm-hmm. Simple as that. Other people disagree. David?
Man, I just still think it's cool, man. I don't know.
Let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. David?
Yeah.
Let's go from bashing Ubisoft to bashing Ubisoft.
Ah, classic. What is this?
Classic
2 years
move.
ago?
Why don't you lead us off on this one?
Oh, so still from IGN, because that's the only place that we get news. Just kidding. Ubisoft is banning player-created Assassin's Creed Odyssey XP farming quests. In a quote from the IGN article, last month at E3, Assassin's Creed Odyssey received an update that added Story Creator Mode. Released in beta, this mode allows players to create and share their own massive map-spanning quests, complete with branching narratives and a surprising level of complexity.
Now, I think a couple other games have done this in the past. Didn't like Infamous 2 try something like this where you can kind of create your own missions in game?
Fuck, dude. Divinity Original Sin 2 has a whole, like, Game Master mode in it.
Yeah, you're right. The RPGs, like Baldur's Gate 2, they have the Dungeon Keeper thing. Yeah, or Master or whatever it's called.
Continuing the quote, however, after noticing a surge in easy quests that are simply designed to let players farm experience points, Ubisoft took to their community page to talk about banning them. Since the launch of the beta, we have noticed an increased flow of farming quests that exploit the tool to get large amounts of XP, reads the post from the AC community team. Quote, these exploits risk jeopardizing the overall quality, integrity, and purpose of Story Creator Mode and results in less visibility for the creative, interesting, and frankly fantastic community stories that have been published. So
what do you
first
think?
reaction?
Mm-hmm.
That's bullshit. Come on.
Yeah.
Your game takes so fucking long, and you are so locked out of content via levels that you have to farm the shit out of this fucking video game in order to play it.
Unless
people want to get extra XP and they play a little like quick mission to get extra XP so they can access more content, they are still playing your game.
Yeah. Here's where the issue arises for a lot of people. It's the fact that Ubisoft sells boosters to increase XP gains in Assassin's Creed Origins. And
oh, do they really?
Like, yeah, they sell experience boosts. And it looks like they might be banning these quests, not because it lowers the quality of the story creator mode, but because it makes those boosters useless.
That's fucking hilarious. Fuck Ubisoft.
However, in Ubisoft's defense, we bitch all the time about curation, like Steam curation, or
That's true.
The Steam curation, for example, or not Steam, Switch's curation. Switch is a fucking garbage wasteland of iOS ports.
I mean, so is Steam, but yeah, we can.
And so is Steam. This sounds like the people at Ubisoft are going, hey, we don't want like a garbage quest whose sole design is to get experience on here because it dilutes the quality of the story creator modes. I get that. I'm fine with that. The real question is, do they do the same with other garbage quests? Or is it specifically...
Your content's not good enough for this shit. But here's the funny part, is if you just left it alone for a while, God damn, I'm going to say it. The cream always rises, especially in these like community-driven level maker kind of games, because you can sort shit by popularity. So I'm sure if you do that in 3 months, yes, you'll probably have 1 or 2 XP farming quests, whichever ones are the best at it. Those will still be in the top 10. The rest of it is going to be shit that's fun to do.
That only works so far because you can't completely oversaturate a market. Like, take a look at the actual iOS store. You can have some amazing quality games, but when you have literally millions of apps, there's no way. There are some apps that might be amazing that no one has ever seen. And I do mean even seen.
That's true. Some things will be completely gone, but other stuff will still make it.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just thinking of like Little Big Planet and all the player-driven levels that were in that game, and how, yes, there was some stuff that was like dumb or it was like a dick joke.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it was some quality shit.
Yeah, your shit like that would spike for like a day or two because someone posts it on Reddit and goes, oh, look, someone made a dick out of Sackboy. And then it goes away.
Yeah. That's kind of where my head's at. Just in my experience with creative style games is that, yes, occasionally you get trolls and stupid shit and farming shit or whatever, but I don't know. Good shit tends to do all right.
Remember, Ubisoft...
But, I don't know, maybe... I'm honestly just curious how many people are shitting out story creator missions for Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I have no idea. But I will say...
And if it's in the numbers that is capable of completely saturating wherever you download those quests with nothing but bullshit. Because I just don't think there's so many players that they're all going to make bullshit. Chances are everyone now is already done making XP quests unless they're getting pulled down and they're just using whatever the good one is.
Let's put it this way. Let's take all that stuff aside. The fact that there seems to be a demand for these XP quests, and that's why, because people wouldn't be making them if there wasn't a demand for it.
That's true. If it wasn't so shitty to level up in that game.
Your game, what does it say about Assassin's Creed Odyssey that people are going to these quick experience gain grinds to get over your grind in your game? To me, that says something's fucking wrong with your game fundamentally.
Yeah, because the only reason they'd be doing that isn't because they want to just like hit max level and stop playing the game. They want to access more content. Your arbitrary leveling system is blocking them from that content, and they're finding a way around it. And
why do people put purposely grinding mechanics in games these days?
I don't know. We should ask Shadow War.
Yeah, that motherfucker Microtransactions sits there and develops games designed solely to put money in his pocket.
Fuck yeah, he does. So, it all started with goddamn iOS games and fucking gems. I got so pissed off. Dude, I was on a trip this weekend. I saw there was a Wheel of Fortune app I could get on my phone. I was like, I fucking love Wheel of Fortune. So I'm going to download this shit. I'm going to play it. And I solved 5 puzzles, which are too goddamn easy. And I'm like, maybe it gets harder. And then it's like, you got to wait 20 minutes to pay 100 crystals. And I promptly deleted that shit because fuck you. I only got time.
So even
I'll happily pay a couple dollars to not ever see this shit in my life ever again.
This is one of those things where, as a gamer, as I use that nebulous term that means fucking nothing, as someone who has seen this song and dance before, I can't help but be cynical and say this is exactly why they're deleting this, because they don't want the competition.
Yep.
So, anyways, yeah, let us know what you guys think down in the comments below on this one, but this seems to be just
they can post
up.
as much as they want, but we're always gonna know.
Yeah.
We're always gonna know.
It's like, sure, guys, whatever you say, right on, you'll get on that. David? Yeah. I'm actually very curious to hear what you think about this next story. This one is coming up from the BBC.
Oh, man, the BBC, a classy place where we always get video game-related news.
Headline, Or the
Headline.
not the yeah, the headline. My son spent 31. I'm sorry, it's written in weird British money and the symbol's throwing me off. My son spent £3,160 in one game. And that's all the headline says.
That's the headline. That's a good headline. That's attention grabbing. I'm going to click on that and read it immediately because obviously there's some huge problem in video games if kids are able to spend like 4,000 US American proper dollars in a video game on accident.
If you notice, we have kind of a little bit of a running theme through this, and that's our microtransactions predatory, is loot box gambling, or loot boxes gambling rather, and this ties into all that stuff. From the article. Last week, we told the story of a family whose children emptied their parents' bank account buying players in the video game FIFA. It generated a big debate on whether parental controls are sufficient, how much responsibility lies with mom and dad, and the ethics of encouraging young players to spend money within games and apps. As a pause, they spell mum M-U-M. I don't care that this is British. That's not how you spell mom. Going on. Back to the article. Following the BBC's report, Deputy Labour leader Tom Watson tweeted calling for, quote, tighter regulation in gaming, saying that there were considerable fears that gaming is a gateway to gambling. As an aside, I have collected some sample. This story goes on a whole list of horror stories, in quotes, about runaway transactions with games. I have collected a sample of these stories. I'm going to break them down right now. I will say out the gate, there are a few of them that are legitimately heartbreaking, and it's like, okay, that's fucked up. We should probably take a look into that. Starting with this first one out the gate here. First, I have a 22-year-old disabled son who has cerebral palsy, complex epilepsy, autism, and learning difficulties, and the approximate cognitive ability of a 7-year-old child. He has recently been playing a video game on his iPad called Hidden Artifacts, which involves finding various items and matching them to the description. He has been charged over £3,000 between February 18th and May 30th this year, clearing out his entire savings. Another story. My 16-year-old son spent nearly £2,000 of my money on EA's NBA basketball game. He used my bank card and I didn't realize until I had payment declined. Next, my 4-year-old grandson downloaded an app and played it with his mother's credit card. Next, this happened to us a few years ago when we were very new to all this. We were technically savvy but didn't think to put a password on my son, and who was 12, ended up spending over £700. It was on his own phone, and he managed to download the Clash of Clans through a Google Pay account, enter his own children's bank card details, and buy lots of in-game items. We didn't realize until we checked his bank statement it was virtually empty. Next, my 11-year-old daughter had spent £100 of my money in a day downloading apps that are the same. Next, I installed Mini Golf Key on my phone for my son who is 5. He knows he is not allowed to spend money in games, yet this game successfully tricked him into spending £300 on in-app purchases. Next, last week my wife got a suspicious email from PayPal. Almost £100 from some mobile app that takes a photo and converts it to a 3D emoji. I checked my online banking app, and sure enough, the money for a free trial had been taken. Turns out my wife had let herself logged on to Google Play on her own phone she'd given to our youngest daughter, who had signed up for the free trial after a week and expired and took the funds. Now, David, aside from the stories about people who have like autism or disabled in some way, those are truly fucked up stories. And there's a couple of them throughout here. I started with the big one, so that way people can kind of see what I'm talking about referring to that. There is one reoccurring theme throughout these entire examples. Can you guess what that thing is?
Put a fucking password on your phone, you dumb shits. Jesus fucking Christ. You can lock your goddamn phone with your fingerprint, with a pattern, with a pin, with your stupid fucking face. How are you this irresponsible? Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ.
The parents fucked up. It's always like, oh, my son knows he shouldn't do this, but the game tricked him.
Here's what's really, really frustrating to me is there's actually a legitimate problem with fucking loot boxes and predatory games with like all kinds of crazy fucking microtransactions. There is, because they want to drain every last fucking penny from you for a full price $60 game.
There's a reason why they're designed like slot machines, because it does trigger certain parts of the brain. I'm not going to say it's an addiction because that involves a chemical dependency.
The Who said it is, so we can say it is. That's fine.
I don't fucking care what Roger Daltrey has to say about anything, okay?
Not until 2021, right? So it can't be an addiction till then. Anyway, there are a shit ton of problems with monetization in games. That I will fully admit. Some of it's very predatory. Some of it just makes it so you have to pay to play, or pay to win, or pay to be any fucking good at it, or pay to enjoy things. That I'm aware of. The fact that your fucking toddler managed to pick up your phone and spend $300 means that you are a fucking idiot.
No, it's more than that in some cases. They're willingly giving them the phone with all this shit on here. It's like...
Wait, hold on. Let's go back to the fact that there's a kid who's a 12 that has his own fucking bank card and was able to punch it into a phone.
Yeah. Whose fault is that? Who gave him the bank card?
Did you have a bank card when you were 12?
No.
I sure as fuck didn't have a debit card when I was 12 years old.
I
Wasn't like allowed to punch in numbers on a goddamn device. Like, this is insane to me.
When you hand your kids these phones with your bank information on there, that is like giving your child your debit card that has $20,000 in savings. I know that's a lot.
Not
most
even
people
that,
don't have that.
but giving them the card and then letting them run around in a fucking Toys R Us.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's like giving them the bank card and going, hey, you can only spend $5 on this in Toys R Us. Here's my bank card that has all of our life savings on it. I'm going to let you go unsupervised for 4 hours of a Toys R Us. Pick your $5 item, buy it, and come back.
Yep.
Do you think they're only going to buy that $5 thing?
Hell no. Kids are responsible as shit.
Which means the parents need to take responsibility for this shit. Fucking get up off your ass, learn about your fucking phone, realize that there's shit on your phone you don't want your kid getting into, and watch what fucking games they're playing more than just looking at the cover going, oh, okay, that's fine. Fucking pay attention.
Do you know how much fucking work I do to buy anything on my phone? Or to buy anything anywhere?
Yeah, a lot.
I've got two-factor authentication on every goddamn thing that's ever existed. I've got to unlock my phone with my fucking fingerprint. I've got to, like, answer an email confirmation and security questions and everything else. And, like...
If you would not
maybe I'm a little extra paranoid, but if you'd done literally one thing...
Yeah.
Just one thing. Now, I remember years ago that there was a problem where a kid was able to power on an Xbox, right? I think it was an Xbox 360 when this happened. And it was like a really, really little kid. And I don't even think the TV was on, but he was just like playing with the controller and he had powered on the Xbox and he had just pressed the A button like 7 times. And it turns out that at that point in time in the UI on the 360, if you turned it on, you press the A button, it would launch you into the store. If you press the A button, it would launch you into your live account. You press the A button, it would sign up for like a 3-month gold membership. Press the A button, it would confirm it. Press the A button to put in your pay. And he had actually managed to spend for like a 6-month Xbox Live Gold membership just by pressing one button on the controller over and over.
You know what the Xbox also has on it? Parental controls.
Yeah. The fact that he was able to do that with the TV off, okay, yeah, maybe that's a design choice on Xbox, and that's a little fucked up. But the companies are there to get your money. It's your fucking job to keep it.
Yeah. Put fucking parental notifications on. If you think it's a game is fine for your kid, look at it and go, okay, does this have transactions on there? Yes. Maybe I want to take my credit card off my fucking phone before I hand it to him.
I feel like I'm going to read a news article tomorrow or the next day about how some guy spent $30,000 on Amazon Prime Day because he just couldn't avoid the savings. Yes, yes, you fucking can.
Your kids are going to do shit that is irresponsible. Guess whose fucking fault it is? Yours. That, like, established.
If I was 7, right, and if this fucking technology existed, and I had spent $1,000 of my father's money buying a bunch of shit on my phone, he wouldn't have been complaining to the BBC. He would have beat my ass.
Yeah.
But there would be it's the game's fault. He would have been pissed about it. I would have been in trouble. But he also would have been like, fucking A, I should pay more attention.
Yeah, exactly. There's just this weird lack of personal responsibility on all this shit.
It's so strange to me. And full disclaimer, I sure as fuck don't have kids.
No,
and I have
don't
no
either.
intention of having kids.
That's
because they're going to do dumb shit like this. And I'm not
I
allowed
don't want to deal with it. I don't want any part of it. But anyone who says, yeah, well, you won't know, it's like, yeah, guess what? You know why I don't have kids? Raising kids is fucking hard. You can't just give them your iPad and go, okay, have fun. That solves nothing. Guess what? It's a full-time job. That's not even you work 8 hours a day for. It is a 24/7 job. And part of that job is making sure your kids don't do fucking stupid shit and being informed. And that is your problem. Not Google's, not EA's, not anyone else's. It is your fucking fault.
Because, I mean, if your kid could do it, that means literally anybody that's happy to get a hold of your phone could buy the whole fucking world.
Exactly.
What is that?
If your phone's that insecure where I can come and pick up your phone and go, well, I'm going to buy myself a new car.
Do you know how many times you have to say no to turn off all the fucking locks, especially on like the App Store?
That I don't.
It's crazy because by default it's always like, okay, enter your PIN, enter your fucking email, you know, what's your password, blah blah blah, and you have to like tell it specifically you don't want to do that because it's gonna be like, do you want to use Face ID? Do you want to use your fingerprint? Do you want to use this, that, or the other thing? It enables you to add security features to your account.
And guess what?
While not everything does, I know the app stores for sure are like, hey, do this, hey, do that.
But David, that's hard. That's inconvenient.
That takes too fucking long.
That takes too fucking long.
The problem is that technology got too everywhere, and goddamn, the quote, "We are technically savvy, but didn't think to put a password on." Too many people got technology too fast.
If I give a kid $5,000 cash and say he can only spend $5 of it, I'm going to leave him in a mall and alone for 4 hours. How much of that money do you think I'm getting back?
I don't even think you're getting the kid back.
Kidnapping shit aside, I realize we have to kind of work in a make believe I'm letting my kid alone in a mall for 4 hours kind of thing. But do you see the point I'm trying to make? That's the same thing that you're doing here.
I would go full blank check. You know, I'd be getting a limo. I'd be out of there. 6 years old, doesn't matter. Going to the water park, baby.
God, what a horrible movie that was. Anyways,
check. What are you talking about, man? That makes all kinds of sense. There's no way that guy ever would have noticed the fact that he was missing $3 million.
No, not at all.
Especially in the 90s when that was chump change.
Like with every topic so far this show, please let us know what you think on this one down below. Do you think the parents
I'm actually really curious because I am aware of the fact that I'm distinctly on one side of this issue.
Are we the assholes here?
It's entirely possible that I am an asshole. I'm an asshole in a lot of things, that I will admit. And I don't know shit about kids, but I do know you probably shouldn't hand them a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But fuck, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's how you parent nowadays. Maybe that's what you do while you're waiting for your next coffee. Staring at your phone, driving down the highway, trying to kill me.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next story right here.
God, I'm so fucking salty.
I knew that one was going to get you heated up, which is why I wanted to like fire it off and just let you go.
This drives me insane.
As you know, David,
yes.
GameStop's been having a bunch of fucking problems lately.
They haven't closed yet?
No, they haven't closed, but their stock has dropped like a stone. No one's willing to buy them.
Hanging on like a goddamn thread.
They got a lot of issues.
It's actually impressive, their tenacity at this point.
I admire its purity.
They're like the goddamn fucking Rasputin of brick and mortar stores.
So they're trying all kinds of shit to keep the company afloat. And one of these things was announced today in a press release titled, GameStop doubles down on retail innovation, partners with RGA to redesign the future of culture gaming experience. That's a mouthful. They tried to kind of give an answer of what is in the future for GameStop. And I kind of like one or two of the things on here, specifically one thing, but we'll get to it as we go on. From the press release. And I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a lot of business Twitch talk and doublespeak in here, so bear with me.
Get excited, everybody. We're getting weird.
We're going to push the envelope of the mainstream to get to the upfront of the forefront.
Wow.
GameStop's answer to the massive hit in stock is an inability to find a... Oh, I'm sorry. This actually isn't from the fucking... This is my own text because I was writing in the same style.
Nice. Well done.
GameStop's answer to massive hit in stock and inability to find a buyer for the company is, quote, to strengthen its focus on creating unique in-store experiences as part of its strategic move and reaffirming its place in the video game culture. Essentially, they're going to try new shit, is what that sentence comes down to. We need to try different shit.
Let's stop losing all of our money and get some customers.
As such, GameStop will be, quote, developing and piloting new and streamlined physical store concepts. Let me pause right there. Streamlined physical store concepts means they're going to be half the size with half the staff. So expect layoffs in the future.
They're not going to look like a Chipotle. You just stare at the front, and then you order all the games you want, and then you leave.
Right. Introducing new ways for gamers to try these new titles before they buy them, and giving stores a unique layout and purpose that appeals to gamers. From store concepts that offer competitive seasons of homegrown e-leagues to locations that sell strictly retro gaming software and hardware, GameStop will pilot the new store concepts in select markets and present something new to the players, both old and new, searching for experiences in gaming beyond the console. Note the wording there.
Beyond the console.
They're talking about competitive seasons of homegrown e-leagues.
Tomorrow.
They're talking about offering competitive sets in homegrown e-leagues. They're talking about stores that sell
that's
strictly retro.
In-game tournaments or in-store tournaments is fucking awesome. It's something they should have been doing this whole goddamn time. That's why
I think it's going to go beyond that. Let me wrap up.
Having specific stores that are specifically retro gaming software and hardware makes it seem like they're going to open a bunch of like secondhand game.
I get the feeling that GameStop's pulling out of the modern game market completely.
It seems like that.
Beyond the consoles, what they're saying. So they're going to open up shit. Like, remember how all those e-cafes popped up in, like, the late 90s, early 2000s? Yeah. Or LAN centers, stuff like that. I've seen a couple of these popping up in Walmart, actually. Where here's this 24-hour Walmart, and they have, like, this fucking esports zone where you can show up and play League of Legends. I get the feeling they're going to start...
There's one by me. They do Rocket League tournaments. We're looking for a third.
I suck at Rocket League, so that ain't me.
Yeah, it's not you. Don't worry.
I get the feeling that they're going to start opening up independent ones of those, and that they're going to start opening up these retro console stores, which sounds cool. I would love to walk into a store and see it like Super Nintendo, Amiga, Atari, Magnavox Odyssey. Get like
I love going out of town and finding old like actually unique game shops, like not GameStop, because there's a couple of them. They still exist. You can find them every once in a while, and they'll have everything, and it's rad.
But that seems to be what they're leaning into. When a company says beyond the console, I'm not saying that all the modern day where you can buy your console and your new Call of Duty, new Madden, I'm not saying all those stores are going to go overnight, but I get the feeling they're going to dramatically pull back on how many stores they have open. My gut says they're going to close half of them, and they're going to start opening up like GameStop presents E-Zone or Fire Zone, or insert like your LAN center here. Or here's your I don't know, your mom's basement kind of store where it's all this old shit. They're going to rebrand a lot of their currently existing GameStops, because in one area that I'm thinking of right now, when I used to work retail for Game Crazy and GameStop later, in one 1 mile area, and I actually did the research on this because I presented it to my boss at the time and went, this is why shit fucking sucks and why you can't screw me on titles. In a 1 mile area, there were 17 different stores I can buy brand new games at.
Yep.
Of those 17 stores, 11 of them was either GameStop or Game Crazy. In 1 mile. And you know the location I'm talking about.
Oh, hell yeah, I do. That shit was funny.
They have expanded too far, and they tried to pull the Starbucks thing where it's like, we're going to have a Starbucks in every corner, not realizing that a $5 cup of coffee that's overrated and overpriced is different than spending $60 on a game that is overrated and overpriced.
Yeah, you also don't have a drive-through, guys. Come on. Stay one stuff.
What do you think is in GameStop's future?
I think they're going to progressively get weirder. They're already looking a lot like a Radio Shack. Now they're going to look like a Radio Shack mixed with a Starbucks. And I have not stepped foot into a GameStop in years.
That's not true. There was that one time you and I walked into one not all that long ago because we were looking for a copy of something. We walked in there. They said, no, we don't have it. And we went, okay, we're out. That store, though, looked like a hot topic, didn't it?
Yeah.
As we all hear you typing.
The last time I went into a GameStop was in December 2018.
Yeah, we were deliberately looking, which was 6 months ago, but that was the first time you went in 3 years before then.
I specifically went in looking for Katamari physical on Switch. Right. They didn't have it, and they said, we don't have one anywhere nearby. And I said, all right, fuck you, goodbye. Because that game only had a physical release in GameStop, which pissed me off immensely. And when I couldn't find it at GameStop, I said, fuck that game entirely.
Right.
I still don't own it, actually, even though
GameStop's,
I love Katamari.
In my opinion, GameStop's future is not going to be retail as we know it anymore when it comes to GameStops. It's not going to be them selling PlayStation 4s. You might be able to walk in and get like your bigger titles, but they are going to pivot hard to this gaming adjacent stuff.
Now, see, that's weird because approximately a week ago, there was a press release from GameStop after we saw the Switch Lite reveal saying this is good for us from one of their higher up guys, saying, "Oh, look, new hardware. This is good for GameStop because they've always excelled at selling hardware."
Yeah,
and then pivot to now, and well, fuck hardware. Let's enhance the player experience.
And I don't necessarily think it's going to be fuck hardware. I think GameStop's frantically trying to hold on until the next generation consoles come out
Maybe they're gonna start having VR demos and all kinds of shit, and have a video game tournament. So maybe they're gonna be rad.
I think they're going to set up things where it's like, come in, spend $5 an hour, and you can play any game in our library. And we have all these stations set up.
Maybe it can be like an old school Game Crazy, where you've got kiosks that have 3 to 6 monitors all around, and there's games, and people can play games.
They have that now to a degree. It's not as expansive, but there are demo units up and running. What I'm saying is,
a couple. They need more.
You roll. That's why you have like a bay of 20 of them. You roll in. You go, here's my $10 for an hour, and play whatever games they have going on there.
You just make it a console gaming cafe. Basically.
You turn it into a fucking LAN cafe from the 90s. That's what this feels like to me. That's one of their things. They're doing things to get out of.
That sounds a lot like an arcade, and we all know those are still doing great.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't see that. I don't think GameStop's going away, but I do think we're going to see roughly 50 to 60% of their stores get shuttered over the next year to 2 years.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, them talking to RGA is at least a good idea on their idea. They kind of exist to fix places.
Yeah, that's like why that company exists.
That's what they do.
David, the future of GameStop is yet to be determined, and we're not going to really see that come to fruition.
I was waiting for you to say it this whole fucking time, but can we please just say the future of GameStop is nebulous? Because that's like my favorite phrase.
The future of GameStop is nebulous.
Perfect, thank you.
And we're not going to have a hard answer for a couple months, if not a couple years from now. That's a long fucking time to wait. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting to find out if GameStop's going to exist or not anymore, what can I play?
Schrodinger's physical game store.
It both does and does not exist.
Oh yeah, let's talk about some video games. There actually is some stuff coming out this week. I don't know if you're going to play any of it, but maybe you will. First up, how about we talk about Nightcall for PC and Mac?
This game looks cool.
This game actually looks tight as fuck. It's an indie game, but it's like a noir mystery kind of sim game. Looking at it, it seems pretty rad. You're basically playing as a cab driver working the Paris night shift, and there's a serial killer in town who's been killing people, and you're a survivor. Like you almost got, but you didn't. And you have about 7 days to solve who the fucking guy is before you get arrested, because you're the closest thing the police got. And it's a like narrative-driven investigation game where you sit in the front seat and you talk to the passengers. So in the middle of the night, you pick up people, you start driving them home. You actually need rides because you're still trying to make a living. So there's like kind of a managing your time aspect. But you want to talk to these people and try and figure out who's who as you try and suss out who the killer is. It's got that whole black and white noir vibe to it, and the music so far sounds really cool from what I've seen. This is pretty rad. I'm not gonna lie. It's interesting. It's got that kind of Papers, Please vibe of let's just sit around and figure shit out.
Let's take this weird concept that sounds like it shouldn't work as a video game and it to something that probably does. This game, I really, really want to play this game. It looks amazing.
Yep. Speaking of things I don't give a shit about, Let's Sing 2019 for Switch and PC. Pretty sure this is a phone port. I'm actually not sure. It's a karaoke game. You sing into the game. Rock Band did it better. If you want it, you've already got it. You're fine. Gabuchi comes out for PS4, Switch, and PC. This is an action puzzle game where you play as a little block guy named Gabuchi, and you eat other blocks that are your same color, but you also really like cookies. What? It's very Ikaruga as a puzzle game where you're playing as this block and you're trying to navigate through levels.
That's actually a really good way of saying it. It looks like Super Meat Boy crossed with Ikaruga.
It's got nothing to do with Meat Boy.
I'm just saying, at first glance, looking at the screens.
Oh, just graphically? Yeah, I can see that. But basically, you're trying to navigate through a level that has different colored blocks, and you can eat blocks that are your same color, you can stand on blocks with the opposite color, and you're trying to make your way to the cookie at the end of every single level because you like eating cookies. Yeah, now, the funny part is that your character can also only eat so much per level, so it's not just let me just eat all the blocks on my way and get to the fucking cookie. You kind of have to be a little strategic, and some of the levels are set up in a way where you have to like make yourself platforms. So it actually looks kind of interesting. Something you could spend a few hours on for kicks. Etherborn comes out for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is an indie adventure kind of atmospheric puzzle platformer built on exploring and understanding weird gravity shifting structures. So you play as a body that's got all of your organs exposed. Like you
think like the medical school doctor show, like stuff like that. He's like the Visible Man in the background. It looks like
Visible Man is a good way to put it. But aesthetically, this game looks really appealing because you're running around on levels where gravity is kind of fucky, and it changes. Kind of fucky. It's a technical
fair
term.
enough.
You guys can look it up. And you're trying to navigate through.
It's like
these
the last 5 minutes
levels.
of Labyrinth.
Yeah. Well, you're giving instructions. You're a voiceless body being given directions from a bodiless voice, and you got to figure out how to get through these levels. And gravity's, like I said, it's a little fucky, and so you can actually run up and over and to the bottom and to the side of different surfaces, and so the platforms will change dramatically. So you're running on the side of something, and then you drop down below, even though you're dropping down to the left, and the perspective change. It looks weird. It's something to think about, puzzly, maybe exciting. How about the FIA European Truck Racing Championship? This is serious, people. PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It's giant semi-truck racing. I swear to God, if it's got wheels on it, people are going to race it. And if people are going to race it, someone's going to make a video game about it. So there you go. If you're into giant truck racing, this is the thing to play, because I don't know of anything else that lets you play giant truck racing. How about Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, coming out to Switch this week, being put together by Koei Tecmo's Team Ninja, published by Nintendo. It's the first Marvel Ultimate Alliance game actually being published and I think produced by Nintendo. But it's set in a totally different universe than the first two games. So it's got nothing to do with the first two. But hey, look at that. More Ultimate Alliance.
I'm really excited for this, actually. I loved multiple Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. And it's one of the few games I eagerly co-op.
Hell yeah, dude. And the best part is you don't have to worry about getting used to new graphics because it looks exactly the fucking same.
That's very true. It does look very dated. But I'm fine with that.
Yeah, if the gameplay's there, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm not giving them too much shit. I just wish this was on. I see the appeal of Switch, and like maybe an ad hoc thing sounds cool, but I would actually probably rather play this game just online with friends. And I don't want to play games necessarily online with my Switch. You know, if it was on PS4 or on PC, I'd probably be more excited. But what are you gonna do? Hey, at least Nintendo made it happen. No one else was fucking doing it. Redeemer Enhanced Edition hits PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is a violent gore kind of beat 'em up style game. What's hilarious to me is in the trailer it says it's God of War meets Hotline Miami. But watching the trailers, it's just Hotline Miami, but with like a big chunky dude that punches and hacks and kicks and shoots his way through levels, murdering everybody. Just it's super violent. I guess is that God of War? I don't. It's 3D. Is that God of War? I don't know. The guy is kind of bulky. Is that God of War? Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? Your game's got guns in it. You're not God of War. Get out of here. Lost Ember comes out for Xbox One, PS4, Switch, and PC. Look at all those damn things. It's an indie exploration game. You're exploring the remains of a fallen world. So this game actually, I think, looks tight.
Yeah, I do like what I've seen of this.
You're playing as the game progresses. You're playing as different animals to try and figure out what the hell's going on. So like you turn into a fish when you're underwater. You fly around as a bird. You run around as a wolf. You're a mountain goat at some point. But it seriously looks to be. You remember the game Flower on PS3? Recently re-released on I think
Flower
it just come out on Epic Store or it came out on PS4 or whatever the hell. Flower is a game that I loved. I always thought the game was super chill, really interesting. This looks to be that, but with you turning into different animals as the game progresses. So I'm actually pretty down for this. And finally, let's talk about Gloomhaven. One of your favorite fucking things is getting an early access PC version this week. This is a pretty fucking famous board game, RPG, that's gotten that digital conversion. And I think the cheapest you can find on the internet if you want a physical copy is about $150. So getting in this early access, probably cheaper.
Yeah, Gloomhaven is... It's not as overproduced as, say, Kingdom Death Monster, but it is very, very... There's a lot of components to it. The box itself is 21 fucking pounds. It's one of the biggest game boxes I have ever seen. We're talking board games, by the way.
Gloomhaven has also been #1 on Board Game Geeks listing of the best board games based on both the staff rating and user rating since its release in 2017.
Yeah.
This is a game that anyone that plays it absolutely fucking loves. And it's like $150 brand new.
You currently buy it on Amazon right now through Amazon Prime for $108.22.
We don't need to look at Amazon today.
Still, $100 is a lot for a fuck. Well, it's actually not all that much for some board games, but it's still in the pricier range.
Yes,
the digital version probably be a little bit more within your scope if the $100 makes you box some. Keep in mind, this isn't early access. The full campaign's not going to be attached to it. This is just, you guys all know how early access games go. They come out in a very limited state. With any luck, I should be getting a copy from this from their PR team. We'll see, and I will be streaming it later this week, but no guarantees of that.
And it's not going to be multiplayer, so nobody cares.
Not yet. Next year.
Yeah,
remember,
when it's actually released in multiplayer, then we should do some nonsense, because this sounds like tons of fun.
Yeah, once the full game is launched, I definitely really want to get into it. But with any luck, we'll be taking a look at it this week as well. David?
That's it. That's all I got.
That does it for new releases, which means that does it for the show. This has been GamePoints episode 183. Thank you all for showing up, and if you want to follow the show, you can do so at GamePoints PC on Twitter. You can follow myself, Stephen Brown, at CapitalistPig21, and you can follow David there at PalSci_Story. If you want to catch the show live, you can join us right here at twitch.tv/GamePoints every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and join in the conversation, much like people in chat did, like Phoenix 100K, even though we didn't really mention them during the show at all. Sorry about that, man. If you can't join us live, completely understandable. Feel free to watch old episodes over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC. If you want to be part of the greater GamePoints community, you can join our Discord. Server links down below, regardless if you're watching at Twitch or YouTube. And I think that's about it. Thank you all for watching. It is truly appreciated. You guys know what subscribers like if you want to, or channels like if you want to support the show. You know what to do. And until next time, we're out of here.